on this episode of the Mad Rush podcast.
So a lot of people think you need coaching if you have a big job, or you need coaching if you're not doing well. And the reality, if you look around the world, like you look at Bill Gates, you look at Oprah Winfrey, these people have had life coaches, career coaches their whole life. In fact, they really attribute to a lot of their success. Trying to democratize coaching for young people. You talk about finding your tribe, and then, at least my girls, right? And the parents that I speak to, there's so many stressors. When am I going to graduate? Do I really know what I want to do? Finding, the right internship. And unfortunately, those crosswalks on how to navigate that at university today, they're not there.
Welcome to the Mad Rush podcast. I'm Trisha Addix, the original sorority rush consultant. While the stories I have to share are nothing short of astonishing, this podcast goes beyond the wild client tales and sorority life. I'll be engaging with fascinating guests from both within and outside the Greek world, uncovering the surprising connections that bind us all together. Join me for a journey that's as entertaining as it is enlightening. Welcome to Mad Rush. So today's guest on Mad Rush is Michael Huckaby, the founder and CEO of LifeRamp 360. And I cannot wait for you to hear all about his company and the need it meets. Thank you so much for being here.
I appreciate it, Trisha. It's great. I love what you guys are doing yourself. I mean, it's all about helping young people. There's clearly a lot of people out there that need it as they're trying to go through one of the biggest transitions, in their life.
Yes, that is true. There's a big synergy between what we do at It's All Greek to Me and what LifeRamp does. I can't wait for him to tell you about it. And a couple months ago, I had a guest on this podcast, Nicole Busby from Dunbar Educational Consultants, who also feels a need for people looking to apply to college. So what we are all seeing is a need for personalized coaching and mentoring for different phases of young people's lives. The number of sorority hopefuls and college students and college graduates, they are increasing exponentially every year, and it is becoming increasingly difficult to navigate these life changes without help. For It's All Greek to Me, we obviously work with young women who want to succeed in sorority rush, but it is all about instilling confidence and giving them the tools to show this confidence effectively. And Michael, you're very familiar with the Greek world, right?
I am. It's kind of crazy. Our family must be in some cult or something. Literally, both my mother and my father were in the Greek system. My aunt, my wife, two daughters, they're in the Greek system. I was privileged when I was at school a couple years ago, in the late 80s, early 90s. I just really loved it. Just the whole idea of finding your tribe, really bonding with somebody, trying to do well academically from a philanthropic point of view, develop some leadership skills. And it was really a great part of my life. Met, as you did as well, made some really lifelong friends. And I was able at the same time to be the Interfraternity Council president, which allowed me to quickly understand, not just be in not only your own sorority, but, there's great people wherever you are. You always talk about, Trisha, you got to find the right fit, right? Whether Nicole was talking about a few episodes ago in terms of right fit for school, just because, and that fit may be big, it may be small, it may be rural or maybe urban. Finding your right fit in of course, a sorority or fraternity is everything. But I recognized very quickly where I went to school that there's great people everywhere. And the more that you can sort of expand your field of vision, and, it was a great time. So it's so interesting that, 30 years later, coming full circle, we work with Panhellenic organizations, interfraternity councils, universities, and trying to, really provide advocacy and support in different ways.
Yeah, that's super cool. And you're right. It's all about the fit and finding your people. So that's very, very cool. And what I do as think anybody listening to this podcast knows. And if you don't, I'm not sure why you're listening. But as I help young women try to find that fit. And then, so once you find your tribe, you wonder how to navigate that. And so you founded LifeRamp because, like I said earlier, you saw a need for this service that wasn't being met. Can you tell us about it?
Absolutely. I mean, the real origin story of LifeRamp started when I was not a young man anymore. I was 42, and took over a global CEO role. Lots of moving parts. I was given an executive coach, and literally within 3 months, I asked myself, why in the world did I not have this when I was in my 20s? That's great that C-suite people have coaches, and unfortunately, it's very expensive. Fast
Wait,
forward,
I didn't know.
yeah.
I didn't know. Like, is that a thing? Like C-suite. Like, first off, I just learned what C-suite was.
Hmm.
I did not. I was talking to someone and they said something about the C-suite, and I was like, I have no idea. I thought I was talking about like a suite in a dome or something.
Yeah, I mean, why not, right?
Yeah, but so that's a thing. Like, you get coaches and stuff.
Well, I mean, if a lot of people think you need coaching if you have a big job, or you need coaching if you're not doing well. And the
Oh,
reality, if you look around the world, like you look at Bill Gates, you look at Oprah Winfrey, these people have had life coaches, career coaches their whole life. In fact, they really attribute to a lot of their success.
I did
Unfortunately,
not know
yeah.
that.
And traditionally, it's really that type of coaching, or at least the coaches, for example, that we offer are all trained and certified. But it is very young people. There hasn't been, and that's what we're trying to do, Tricia. We're trying to democratize coaching for young people. You talk about finding your tribe, and then at least my girls, right, and the parents that I speak to. There's so many stressors. There's boyfriend, issues. There is, when am I going to graduate? Do I really know what I want to do? Finding, the right internship. And unfortunately, those crosswalks on how to navigate that at university today, they're not there. They're either not there or they're antiquated. So they don't bring really how young people work, which is, of course, through their phone. The span of control for people to provide advocacy through coaching or things of that nature just really aren't built for a young person, and especially in a cost effective way. And that's really where we come in. I spent 15 years in higher education working with young people around the world in 100 countries, and have a real passion, quite candidly, on it sounds a little cliche of helping the young people find purpose for tomorrow, right? But I always really, that's where I get super jazzed. I never got jazzed on opening up new campuses and new programs. I felt more comfortable when I was talking to students. And that's,
Yeah,
I would imagine you, Trish, and myself, that's what keeps you young.
right.
You see the energy and the hopes and the potential of these young people. So, Life Ramp, quite candidly, we bring coaching earlier. We got 5,000 weeks to live, Tricia. I mean, I know it
Oh
sounds,
God, don't say
I mean,
that. That sounds
I know,
terrible.
and it's crazy. But if you really just, we all think we're going to live forever. The reality is we got 5,000 weeks to live. These young
I'm gonna have to
people,
do that
I
math.
know, but here's the deal. Like when you're starting to work with young people thinking about a sorority, they've already burned through 1,000 weeks. Okay. The last 1,000 weeks, if you're very fortunate, you're watching sunsets and kissing grandbabies and doing all that. So you got 3,000 weeks. And what we do and what you're doing, those precious weeks from 1,000 to 1,500 weeks, those are what I will call the accelerator weeks. Because it's not just only about providing advocacy and support. I mean, there's a lot of things that you can do that. But it's about, can you accelerate it? Can you provide field of vision with a real plan to accelerate people while you're providing enhanced confidence? And we do that through coaching. We have signature experiences that are bringing in technology where they can just use it through their phone.
So wait, back up and explain. So I jumped
No
ahead. So
worries.
explain, like, so you had a coach and
Hmm.
you thought, and I'm not trying to put words in your mouth. I'm just trying to make sure I understand. because I don't know as well. You had a coach, but then you thought, why didn't I have this
Yeah,
earlier in my, and so that is what made you decide to start LifeRamp.
it
And what
did. Yeah.
exact,
Yeah.
and what was your background? So you were a CEO, obviously, but what you were in higher education and education technology.
Mhm.
And so that's what made you say, this is the sort of, I'm just trying to see how it mirrors, because I know it
Totally.
does with
Yeah.
what I did.
So threading the needle for you concisely is after I had a coach several years later, my daughters were 18 going to college. And I saw the friction points getting into college, the stress of getting into a sorority, the stress of not knowing what they wanted to do. And because of my higher ed background and my education technology background and my passion of always trying to help young people, really, and having that coaching experience is when going literally right before COVID, the moving into 2020, when I founded LifeRamp, which is to democratize coaching for primarily Gen Z, and working with initially with parents and students to show how third party advocacy through our coaches, who are all trained and certified through the International Coaching Federation, to really provide that support through our platform. And we've been
And when
fortunate.
does that start? Like what age do you start coaching?
Yeah, we typically start right when they're, it can be, we help sort of Gen Z and millennials, like we're helping college students, but we also help uh, emerging adults that are maybe a few years out of college as well. But as it relates to college, typically, we can start as early as their, senior year, trying to figure out what college. But I would say the more typical would be, right when you drop them off and they're happy and they're like, "Oh, Trisha, thank you. I'm so excited that I'm a Kaio or Tridel or Phi Mu or whatever it may be, right?" And then you sort of see that, wow, college is tricky. I'm not living at home because a lot of these students, as you stated as well, the big trend, a lot of them are like when you and I mean, you came probably further than I did, but people are coming from all over the country to these places. So there's a lot of stressors on needing the support, not knowing where to go for the support. And that's where we like to think of LifeRamp as a coach in your pocket. It's a guide by your
Oh, that's
side
awesome.
that can help you when you're transitioning, if you're a freshman, through your senior year and beyond. We almost think it, if you think of yourself sort of driving on a highway through life and you're in the convertible trying to figure out where you want to go, you have your coach by your side. And then periodically, you get on an exit ramp and go, "Well, I need to get an internship. How do I do that?" And a coach will actually work with you to help you figure out what you need to be a sounding board so you don't get lost on some dirt road, right? To really guide you on, you may need to exit here and ask these people. So again, it's about how can you accelerate it where you're not having to um, take 6 years to get out of school, change majors 2 times, where it costs you more money to graduate, or where 40% of graduates today, Tricia, are underemployed when they graduate, which means I got a great degree, but I don't get a job that I studied for, right? And so there may be some interim type places because I want to live in a cool place or whatever. And that's okay, right? Because in your 20s, you can take so much risk. But really, what we're super jazzed about is in those 4 years at school, is the services that we're offering. They generally do not exist in the way that we offer them across the country. And
Yes, I want to
yeah,
hear a little. I know the answer when we first talked. You told me about this, but I think it's worth repeating because it's what I say about. So let's say you're going through Rush and you have a you have a Rokai or Gamma Chi or whatever a
mm,
counselor that is assigned to you from Panhellenic,
mm,
and they have a bunch of people and their goals are a little different than yours or mine as a Rush consultant. They want everyone to find a place. And so, anyway, long story short, there are people, but there's just not enough. There's they don't have the bandwidth. Like there's just too many people. And so that's kind of what you're saying, right? Like there are people, there are resources at these schools because
Yes.
I think people who are going to be listening to this are going to be like, well, we have a college placement or not a college placement, job
Mhm.
placement, whatever, career counseling. But what you were saying, and what I think is a really good point, is that they they're just spread too thin. I mean, I
They're
think you
spread
gave me
to.
some numbers. You gave me some numbers.
It's
Talk about
actually
that.
shocking, Trisha. When I was sort of looking at sort of the research, and again, like, is there a market to help young people? On average, and this is through NACE. Um,
What's NACE?
NACE is the national association that works with industry to get competencies that young people need to get a career. So interpersonal skill development. In their research, they look around the country to understand the bandwidth and people that are helping young people, students in career services. The average is about 2,500 students for every full time equivalent career person.
Oh
Uh,
wow.
Now, that's shocking enough. But what's more important is typically in most schools, you have to schedule an appointment online and then you go in to meet with that person. The other thing, which is a struggle, and where we think we really help in this way, is that not all, but a lot of these career counselors are not classically trained, and this is across the whole country. And there's always universities that do jobs better than others, but I would say out of the several hundred of institutions that I've personally been to, unfortunately, they're not funded in a way, and the individuals working there at times, not all places, do not have the individuals that maybe have that full field of vision. They maybe not have left that particular town in maybe 20 years, or maybe they were an adjunct professor. And that's just one thing. We're talking about career services. But then there's also, Tricia, there's well-being, there's anxiety. And I may not need to go see a therapist just because my boyfriend just broke up with me. And now I got to go see a therapist tomorrow. And so we're really talking about career, yes, but we're also talking about how can I develop my interpersonal skills? How can I develop my well-being and my resiliency to deal with these multiple things that young women and young men are dealing with? That's why 87% of young people in college have anxiety and or lack clarity in what they want to do moving forward. And the beautiful thing is there's no right or wrong answer. Like, people get so overwhelmed. And it's just, the reality is just trying things because, I've always been amazed how we expect these young people to know what they want to do when they haven't had a lot of experiences and they're 18 to 22 years of age.
Yeah,
And
that's crazy.
it's crazy. And the world's changing so quickly. They're going to have 4, 5 careers, Trisha. And so it's right. Those interpersonal skills and being agile are a couple things that will just equip them. And that's why being in a sorority and fraternity is I believe, such a wonderful thing. And a lot of people think around the country. I'm in Annapolis, Maryland, and some people are like, why do this fraternity thing? What's that about? And and there's the reality is, fraternities and sororities, they generally have higher GPAs. They get involved in leadership, and there's a lot of things that they have opportunities, and it's not all about just having a great party and meeting a lot of people. And
Yeah, I love that you say that because that's one of my pet peeves, and I see a lot. Again, I try not to live in the comment
yeah,
sections, but there is a lot of yes, there's a lot of drinking and that stuff, but that's kind of across the board in college,
100%.
and it's not focused on Greek life. And what I really want people to know is that there are so many advantages to being part of an organization that promotes scholarship and leadership
Hmm.
and all of that stuff. So yeah, that's an important point you make. Yes, there are parties, but there are also parties, you know, everywhere but probably the Baptist Student Union or I
Hmm.
mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's just I'm just throwing that out there, but it's all, there are so many good things about it that can, you know, that are going to help people set themselves up for success. But so you said something that I wrote down, the word pivot. So that's one of the things that we do um in what we do, but it sounds like you're kind of there with them the whole time so they can pivot as they go through college. Is that fair to
It's
say?
fair to say in our platform, which is basically an app, they have access to assessments, curated resources, and generally what happens, a student will start, for example, our Pathfinder program. It's a 4-month program. You have 6 one-on-one sessions, unlimited chat with your coach, and they may need it for 6 months to find an internship or they're feeling stuck. We don't feel that, oh, you should have a one-on-one coach all 4 years and all the time. The reality is you need more support in your transition moments or when maybe you're stuck. And so generally what we find is the first year or two, they may be with a coach of LifeRamp for 6 months. And then maybe when they start sort of a year 3 and 4, they're coming out of their internship or wanting to find an internship. They're wanting a job. They're wanting help with interviews, could be resumes, could be confidence. And so I would say with college individuals, we're probably doing about 60% career, and then 25% more well-being, and then blended with some interpersonal skill development. And so we do that through the one-on-one coaching. We have virtual events throughout the year where all of our clients get invited to, so they can participate on some of these areas, whether it's interpersonal skill. We may have anybody from a 3-star general or a Fortune 500 individual talking about things that can help them, and they can engage with these subject matter experts. But the principle in terms of when they engage in LifeRamp, it's not programmatic because each coach meets that individual where they are.
That's so funny. We just recorded earlier today with my friend Melanie, and she literally said those words. You got to meet them where they are, which is, I think that's a really cool. I've never said that before, but I'm going to start saying it.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. At first I used to say, oh, we're a technology company that we bring these and we help people. And I mean, the reality is, technology is great and everything, but it's really an enabler. And I think it's so critical. That's why I love what you do. The human connection is is part of everybody's journey. That's how we thrive and we feel part of something. It's through human connection. So we try to bring a larger field of vision with real support and advocacy through these coaching experiences, but it's done using technology that they're used to, and they can get support if they're hanging out in Paris. They can be chatting with their coach. If they're visiting mom and dad at Thanksgiving, they can still be getting coached up versus having to wait several weeks to go see somebody in a building that they have to drive and park to, which is fine. We're not trying to replace, we're just trying to supplement. And what's amazing? I talk to my friends that are in Europe and they're, God, university is so expensive in the US. I'm like, yeah, it is. And, I have 2 daughters that, went out of state, and it's a big investment. I'm not going to lie. Your reality is, it's probably both all in, and it's the state school they're going to, right? And in the Southeast. And, it's probably, all in $500,000 all in. So when I look at it and you think about getting support, like for yourself, the work that you're doing or providing coaching, I mean, it's God, it's almost like an insurance policy. I want 2 things, Trisha, with my daughters. I'm just a simple guy. I want 2 things. I want them to be able to think independently as young women and be able to thrive. And then at some point to be able to financially be independent as well. And those are 2 things: be healthy, happy, and find a way over time to be independent. And so I think by going to the right place, finding your right tribe, having advocacy throughout in these transitional moments. Again, I think everybody needs a coach. I speak to, one of our coaches every 2 weeks because I'm 54 years old. I still don't have it all figured out, right? I have a long way to go.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that is so important to say. So, yes, you're making a huge investment in your daughter's futures or sending them to school. And when they get there, and I'm not speaking about their school, I know what school where they are, but they're just the people there that are there to support them don't have the bandwidth. And so if you don't give them those tools and with an expert, then that's kind of a wasted investment. Not 100% wasted,
Yeah.
but I mean, and I say that because we're pretty expensive what we do. And I'm not saying you're expensive, but I tell people, I'm like, when you have us, and it's really important to invest in the well-being. And if they want to be in Greek life, it's really hard to do that without help now. It didn't used to be as hard. And even as early as one of my mentors was on this podcast, and I think she was 2014 high school graduate, and she was like, I didn't need this. But she obviously sees the need for it now. And she's like, it's just changed. Everything there's so many more people and it's just, anyway, I kind of went off on a tangent there, but I think that's important to note that if you're spending all this money on school or you're spending all this money to be in a sorority, like you got to have, I don't know. I just feel
you're 100%.
what you're doing is,
I think sort of segueing with what you are doing, and people say things are expensive or it's not. I mean, if you just, at least I look around what my girls spend money on, et cetera, it is really if you're going to build a house, you're going to have a good foundation. You're not going to just put some flashy interior and make the house not strong. You need to, yourself, when you're starting your life, you need good foundations, people that can give you advice in those right moments, and, we naturally do that where are you going to go get surgery from a doctor that's not good? Or are you going to go to the doctor that's done that 1,000 times and has great results? I mean, naturally, you want to do that. So, there's blends and, everybody has a view about impact or return on investment, but, I think that moment, again, we talked about those 1,000 weeks, 18 to 1,500 weeks, in your early 20s, the more you want to make mistakes. Those aren't failures, those are learnings. But if you can do that in a very rapid, accelerated fashion, you will be more confident because you know what you like and you don't like, and you'll make less maybe choices. You'll have choices that it won't take you several years to figure out, because that's lost opportunity cost. So when you're talking about return and thriving, and it's I think it's really all interconnected. So nobody's an island. You need help.
yes, I say that all the time. Everybody needs help.
Everybody needs help.
So walk me through, okay, so let's pretend like I am a college, I don't know, whatever, you pick what year I am, and walk me through, like, because you mentioned a little bit about, I forget what you call Pathfinder,
Mm-hmm.
but will you sort of explain how Life 360,
Mm-hmm.
LifeRamp 3, I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Life 360 is what I used to track my kids with. And then,
exactly.
and they gave me, literally, I think it was 3 weeks. They sat me down. They're like, okay, you have 3 weeks when we get to college, and then we're turning it off. And I was so sad about that. And my husband was like, no, this is for your mental health. Your kids know you so well that this is a favor they're doing to you.
Right.
They're weaning you off this. But anyway, this was just me, because talk about anxiety. I have got next level anxiety. So they were doing that, knowing that was what I needed. But so anyway, I digress. I just renamed your company to a company that already exists. So let's go back to your real company, LifeRamp. All right, so go ahead.
Yeah. So to give you an idea, so we work with a lot of young women that are in sororities. So maybe they're in year 2 and they're trying to figure out what they want to do. They come home. So we're in November right now. Thanksgiving's coming up. Go home. Hey, how's school going, Susie? Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if I'm in the right what I want to do really. I mean, well, and the parents going, well, do you need to do an internship? Have you talked to anybody? So generally we come in when they're either
That stresses me out just hearing those two sentences. Oh my God.
it is, and it's so competitive, Trisha. I mean, I know everybody
Oh,
knows it's competitive, but we really are in a global competitive, and it's vital that when you're in a sorority that you're also you gotta live where your feet are, and at the same time you have to figure out and plan for the future. And but an example would be, a student goes, I'm sort of feeling stuck. The parents going, I really want my investment to pay off. I really want you to be happy. What support can we provide? And so they either look for, okay, well, it's not a therapist. You don't need that. You need help about career. And then you have maybe there's some mean girl stuff going on, but there's a lot of stuff that we're worried about you. And that's typically where, parents would, reach out to LifeRamp and or the students, and are really our program that hits so many young people today. One of our most successful programs is called Pathfinder 360. It's a self-paced program, but generally takes 4 months. And within that, they have 8 coaching one-on-one sessions. They have unlimited chat with their coach. They're doing this on their phone, basically. And then they have access to curated resources. So generally by 90 days, Trisha, competence is going up. They actually have a plan, whether it's finding an internship, whether it's navigating personal and professional aspirations. And they have a personalized plan that, again, a trained and certified coach has worked with them on. And it is transformational. I have,
yeah. I mean,
yeah,
I'm not kidding. I felt relief when you were saying that, because just having a plan, like,
yeah,
and also, I'm sure you run into this, and I always do this. So I was going to apologize for interrupting, but it is just what I do because I get so excited about something. So that even if the parents have a way to help them, like, no, my clients don't want to hear it from their
they don't want to
parents.
hear it.
I mean, they
Mm,
just don't. And also it takes away from the dynamic. So you're home for Thanksgiving and you're saying these things that are stressing you out or whatever.
mm,
That takes away from the family time, meaning
yeah.
like it's if you're saying to your parents, and I get it before they go to school, or if they're rushing in spring or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
they are like, it causes this new dynamic that you just don't want between parents and kids. And so the parents want to take themselves out of it. And I think that's crucial too.
Yeah, you're 100% correct. It is a big relief because, it's like, I mean, I have $2 and I do what I do, but they don't want to hear it from me. And
Right.
they want to do it in a confidential way. The one thing I will say, even though the parents are, wanting to advocate and they're maybe wanting to pay for this for their daughter or their son, is those conversations are total confidential. So we're not going back to mom and dad. Oh, by the way, here's what they talked about.
Right.
These are 18. They're adults. The reality is, um, you know, the coaches that are working with them on a plan. If they want to share that with their parents, they of course can. But and it's so incredible. You met Abby Harden, who's our regional director in the Southeast, and Abby had her daughter, and she loves talking about it. Her daughter Annie, was going to just a bright leader, in her sorority, and felt a little stuck, as going into her junior year. Worked with a LifeRamp coach and was truly transformational. And she's just doing great. She's killing it. She's out in Denver working for a company, Adobe, and it's one example of hundreds of young women that are, um, you know, having not only the sorority experience, graduating with the degree of whatever they're going to be doing, but literally somebody that's trying to help them not just get out of college, but slingshot them in a way in terms of acceleration where they're truly not only thriving at college, but thriving, once they, clear college as well.
That's really cool. And it also sounds well. So is Pathfinder, is that the only program you offer?
So at the college level, that's our inaugural one that we
Okay.
just launched.
I shouldn't have asked like that. Not, is it the only, but
Yeah.
I don't mean it like that's not enough. I just didn't know if there was something else that you all did or if that's
Well, there is. I mean, LifeRamp, we also, as I mentioned, we have a number of programs where we work with young people, through credentials that are more workforce development activities and working with, organizations helping larger amount of young people. But as it relates to a college student looking for advocacy, this Pathfinder is what's great about it. It's not only finding your path of what I want to do with my life. you know the initial program is Pathfinder, and then if you want to top up and have continuity of support with the coach, like I just need interviewing, I need some confidence, I'm going to have 8 interviews next week, and I need to connect with you, I need to do some rehearsing, I need to how can I articulate, how do I show my true brand of who I am. Um, and again, what's going back to there's a lot of misnomer on, sometimes at least the coaching that we're offering, what they're actually trained to do. And this is why, Tricia, we use ICF trained coaches, because all of them have had at least over a year of training and have had 100 hours of coaching young people. And then what the training, though, that they have is they're able to seamlessly navigate between career. Okay, we're going to focus on career because that's what you need. To wow, there's these interpersonal things that maybe you're just really not that developed. You want to work on, or it's personal. It could be mean girl stuff going on. It could be boyfriend issues going on, and they're able to really um, unlock each of those areas, either individually or as an aggregate, so they can navigate with them based on where they are at that moment in their life. And so that's really the what we believe, is powering up young people's future.
oh, I love that. And you said they're what trained?
ICF is International Coaching Federation. All of our coaches are certified. It's a global certification body. And yeah, there's 175 chapters around the world. And we our coaches, we have coaches that, if you have young people that are maybe speaking Spanish at home, we have multilingual coaches able to, again, not only meet them where they are, but speaking the language that they're more comfortable with as well.
You ain't getting that. And it's all Greek to me. I don't have any Spanish speaking people. That's super cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So yeah, it's I love the synergy. I think it's so what you're doing is so important, and you're meeting a need that has always been there, but it's just not possible for these schools to meet. And I love how it's sort of the whole thing. It's, the mean girl thing, of course we all see that, and that you're able to, like you said, meet them where they are, which is really, really cool and unique. And I am super impressed, and I can't wait to help our clients find you and all the other people. So, okay, so Bama Rush Talk popularized the hashtag OOTD outfit of the day. For Mad Rush, I'm repurposing hashtag OOTD into observation of the day. What is Michael's hashtag observation of the day? It can be anything.
Yeah, it's a great question. I would say hashtag for me would be for young people, just seeing the need for curiosity and grit.
Oh, I love that.
The reality is, I'm no smarter than anybody else. I had average grades, Trisha. I mean, I tried really hard, but I was always curious, and I have a lot of grit, and because of that, being curious. I mean, being a Greek person, I was sitting in a class, And in an economics class, it quite candidly was the most boring thing ever. I mean, I don't even know what I learned in that class. But the one thing in that class changed my life. This guy comes in and goes, "Hey, we have grants of people that want to go study in Japan." And I was saying, "Japan? Huh? Yeah, that sounds interesting. What is that about?" Anyway, I went over there, studied, and after I got out of school, my odyssey of working, living around the world started. And this is why we're here today talking about young people. And my entire odyssey and curiosity. I'm curious about people because people from wherever they are, you can learn something from. So curious is one thing that when you're curious, you tend to ask more questions. You tend to find more opportunities that are out there. And if you can be curious and have grit to follow through and fight through these challenging times, whatever you're facing in your life, if it's personal, you can't find the right job, but battling through that and always being curious. I think young people can soar and fly and do whatever they want to. I think it's an exciting time to be alive. And, again, just those two things is what I would leave.
I love that, grit and curiosity. And I also love that you said you didn't have great grades, but you tried.
I tried really hard.
I did not try, and I did not have good grades either. But I think I also am very curious. As a friend of mine said very nicely to me yesterday, she was like, when you meet someone, you ask a lot of questions because I really and truly want to know what makes people tick. And I think that's what makes my business successful, because I was able to figure out that that's an important thing. You don't need good grades for that. I mean, now again, everything is ramped up, but whatever. I think that's a great observation. And it's also probably why you're successful. And I cannot wait to work with LifeRamp 360. And so tell me how people can find you.
Sure. They can find us at liferamp360.com. They can find us on Instagram and Facebook, LifeRamp, and LIFE, Life Ramp, RAMP. And we look forward to having further conversations and helping young women and young men around the country.
Yeah, that's awesome. And this will all be in the show notes. Thank you so much for being here, Michael. I really appreciate it. I think you're doing something great. And more importantly, I think you're meeting a need that is becoming even more present every day.
Yeah, ditto to you as well. It's, love what you guys are doing.
Well, thank you. And thanks for being here. Welcome to Time Out with Trisha. Because can you really give advice if you don't speak about yourself in the third person? I don't think so. This is exactly how I speak to my clients. The good, the bad, and the ugly. So listen to me. I know what I'm talking about. Now let's get into it. So today I learned that highly successful people have had coaches. I should have realized this since I clearly see the value of coaching and how it helps my clients, but I didn't before see the correlation with me personally. So I did something cool through LifeRamp, which I'm going to tell you about in a second, and I learned what my superpower is. So a superpower is something innate in us that others find compelling. It's not just a strength, it's more than that, because the power of it comes from how others are impacted by our superpower. So I thought that was kind of cool. And a superpower connects deeply with others because it combines skill with authenticity, passion, and impact. So it's not just about what we achieve, but how our presence, approach, or perspective inspires or transforms the people around us. This ability to make a meaningful difference is what elevates a strength to a superpower. So I think if you begin to tap into what is inside you that others will find compelling, that it will help you succeed and rush and as you move through life and as you begin to create your personal brand And I am discovering that it's never too late in life to be coached or to find out what your superpower is and make an impact. So you may be surprised what your dominant superpower is. That's because it's so natural you don't realize you have it. So I took this assessment, as I said, and found out that my superpower is being a truth teller, which I love. And I think that you guys should take advantage of this free superpower assessment. And you can do that at Instagram at LifeRamp, Facebook, or LifeRamp360.com. And once you get that knowledge in your arsenal, I guess, that can help you with all of the things that we talk about, which is presenting and being your best self. And that's it for Time Out with Trisha. We'll see you on another episode of the Mad Rush Podcast. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Mad Rush Podcast. If you are enjoying this podcast, please consider leaving us a 5-star review. For additional Rush tips, updates, and more, please follow me on Instagram at Rush with Confidence. If you would like to reach out to us or for more information, please email info@madrushpod.com. This podcast is produced by Collier Landry and Don't Touch My Radio. Copyright Trisha Adams.